Hot, proud, unstoppable. India is turning up the heat, and these 10 young LGBTQ+ men are leading the charge. They are actors, influencers, designers, and icons in the making. They are redefining what it means to be a man in modern India. Who are they? And which one is making headlines for a secret romance? Find out now, only on LGBTQ+ Vibes. Hit that play button and let the countdown begin. Feel the heat? He did not walk into fame. He kicked the door open in 6-inch heels, glitter on his lashes, and truth in his voice. Sushant Divgikar is not just a performer. He is India's queer revolution in motion. On stage as Rani Kohinoor, he is fierce, magnetic, impossible to ignore. But behind that fire is a story of a boy who grew up in a world that told him to sit still, be quiet, and act normal. He did none of that. Instead, he stood up, sang louder, and turned his very existence into resistance. In every move, every note, he sends a message. I will not shrink to fit your comfort. Crowned Mr. Gay India in 2014, he could have stopped there. But Sushant does not do enough. He became the first drag queen to compete as a singer on India's most conservative national stage and slayed it. His voice, unshakable. His courage, unmatched. His presence, unforgettable. But it is not just the performance, it is the purpose. He talks about mental health on morning shows. He checks ministers on national TV. And when he sings in Sanskrit wearing full drag, he is not just blending worlds, he is redefining what it means to be Indian and queer. And when he sings in Sanskrit, dressed in full drag, he is not just breaking barriers. He is weaving queerness into the fabric of Indian identity. Millions of viewers see the glam. Few see the grit, the tears before the applause. The hate mail behind the headlines, but he keeps going for every kid who has ever felt too loud, too soft, too different. Sushant does not just light up a room, he burns down the closet. And just when you think no one else could match that heat, the spotlight shifts from the drag stage to the digital screen. Because up next is a man who broke the internet with nothing but a phone, a killer smile, and a message that changed how India sees queer beauty. He did not need a spotlight. He created one, with a camera, a closet full of color, and a confidence that could melt through screens. Anish Bhagat is not just an influencer. He is India's digital defiance, dressed in couture. He shows up in your feed like a firecracker, bold prints, radiant skin, and a smile that dares you to look away. But beneath that shimmer is a boy who once wondered if he would ever be enough. Too femme, too loud, too different. Instead of shrinking, he decided to shine. Every reel, every pose, every unapologetic caption is a rebellion dressed in style. With over 1 million followers, he could have just played it safe, sell skincare, post selfies, count likes. But Anish does not do ordinary. His fashion is fierce, yes, but his message? Fiercer. He talks about mental health between outfit changes. He breaks down masculinity while breaking fashion norms. He speaks in bold eyeliner and vulnerable truths. Anish is not just curating a brand. He is creating a movement, one where being queer is not just tolerated, it is celebrated. And he is doing it with the kind of charisma algorithms cannot fake. Most people scroll past, but Anish makes you stop. He makes you feel. He makes you think. And maybe that is his real magic, not the glam, but the guts. The way he reclaims joy in a world that tried to label him too much. He is not performing for approval. He is living for liberation. And just when you think this digital star is the brightest India has to offer, the story zooms out from pixels to palaces. Because up next is a man born into royalty. And instead of hiding behind tradition, Manvendra Singh Gohil used his crown to shatter it. He was born into royalty, but chose a crown far heavier than gold. Manvendra Singh Gohil could have lived quietly behind palace walls, surrounded by wealth, tradition, and a carefully preserved legacy. The script for his life was written the day he was born, a noble son destined to marry, rule, and maintain a facade. But instead, he ripped up the script. He rewrote the story in bold ink, choosing honesty over expectation. When Manvendra came out as India's first openly gay prince, he did not just exit a closet, he shattered centuries of silence. There was no scandal, no headline stunt, just a man standing firmly in his truth, in a culture where such truth had long been buried beneath duty. What followed was a storm. His family disowned him. His name became a target of gossip and shame. He was branded a betrayal to his bloodline, a disgrace to the crown. But he did not shrink. He transformed rejection into resolve. Instead of retreating into bitterness, he built something enduring. Manvendra founded the Lakshya Trust, a lifeline for LGBTQ+ individuals abandoned by the very systems meant to protect them. He turned his palace into a place of healing. Where others saw scandal, he created sanctuary. He did not just survive the backlash, he turned it into a beacon. Today, when Manvendra enters a room, he does not need diamonds to command attention. It is his dignity, the quiet power of someone who was stripped of everything and chose to give even more. He is not just a prince by birth. He is a king of purpose, a ruler of hearts. And just when you think the story cannot get more cinematic, we trade royal robes for Hollywood scripts. Because next comes a boy from India who crossed continents, chased a dream, and found his queerness framed in lights. Karan Soni is ready for his close-up. He did not fit the Hollywood mold. So, Karan Soni decided to break it, one unforgettable role at a time. From the moment he appeared as the lightning-fast, deadpan cab driver in Deadpool, audiences knew he was different. Not just funny, not just the Indian guy, but refreshingly human. In an industry that rarely gives space to queer brown men, Karan has carved his own lane, where wit meets dignity and stereotype gives way to substance. He is a disruptor in disguise, wrapping his rebellion in perfectly timed punchlines and dead serious charm. Born in Delhi, Karan grew up scanning screens for a reflection that never came. No one looked like him. No one lived like him. So he crossed oceans to become what he had never seen. In Los Angeles, he walked into audition rooms full of expectations, overdone accents, tired jokes, roles that boxed in rather than broke out. But Karan brought nuance, soul, a refusal to settle for less than layered. For years, he kept his queerness quiet, letting the work speak louder. And when he finally came out, it was not for applause, it was for truth. His quiet honesty became a lifeline to others still learning how to breathe freely. Karan does not perform queerness. He lives it. With depth, with subtlety, with a wink that says, "I am here and I am enough." He does not demand attention, but he earns it every time the camera rolls. His visibility is not loud, but it is seismic, and it is changing what Hollywood thinks a queer South Asian man can be. And just when you think no one else could blend identity, activism, and performance with such grace, sequins flash into focus. The energy shifts, the volume rises. Because stepping into the spotlight next is a queen who trades scripts for sass and lipstick for liberation. Mathew, the dazzling drag icon who turns every stage into a statement. He does not hide behind the makeup. He rises through it. Mathew, known on stage as Maya the drag queen, turns every performance into protest, every joke into justice. With her towering wigs, piercing humor, and bold red lipstick, Maya is not just a drag persona. She is India's loudest, fiercest, funniest rebuttal to shame. When Maya speaks, she speaks for every queer kid told to tone it down. And she does it with sparkle in her eyes and fire in her gut. Born in a conservative Malayali Christian household, Alex grew up where silence was safety, but silence never suited him. In a world that polices every expression, he chose to create one of his own. Maya was never just about fashion or flair. It was a political statement draped in sequins. When she took the mic, India listened. When she danced, she demanded space. Through TEDx talks, comedy shows, and interviews that made traditionalists squirm, Maya proved that drag is not imitation, it is liberation. And Alex? He became a pioneer, not because he wanted fame, but because someone had to be first. What makes Maya unforgettable is not the height of her heels, it is the weight of her message. She confronts patriarchy with poise. She mocks hypocrisy with grace. She teaches gender studies not in classrooms, but through lip-sync battles and belly laughs. Alex once said, "My existence is political." And Maya proves it, every single time she steps on stage. But the world of performance is not the only place queerness finds its power. Because now we trade the curtain for the camera. As we meet a filmmaker who uses cinema not to escape reality, but to challenge it. Nakshatra Bagwe is up next. He never needed a blockbuster budget, just a lens, a heartbeat, and the courage to tell stories no one else would. Nakshatra Bagwe is not your typical filmmaker. He does not chase fame or box office records. He chases truth. And in a country where queer love was long erased from scripts, Nakshatra picked up a camera and wrote his own. His debut film, Logging Out, a raw exploration of gay dating and isolation, was not just art, it was a lifeline. With quiet angles and honest characters, he carved space for stories that had been silenced for too long. He grew up in a middle-class Maharashtrian family where queerness was not discussed, it was denied. But even in that silence, Nakshatra found expression. He would write, draw, and imagine worlds where love did not come with shame. When he finally came out, it was not with a bang, but with a film. And since then, every frame he creates is a statement. He refuses to paint queer lives in tragedy alone. His stories are awkward, tender, intimate, reflecting the realness so many have craved. Nakshatra is not trying to be a celebrity. He is trying to be seen and to help others be seen too. His work has screened at international festivals, his voice has grown louder, but his mission stays personal. To show India and the world that LGBTQ+ lives are not a niche. They are a narrative. He calls himself a filmmaker, but really, he is a builder of bridges, of empathy, of belonging. And just when you think his quiet rebellion is as moving as it gets, the light shifts. Because up next is a man who threads identity into fabric, style into resistance. Rohit Bal brings queerness to the catwalk like never before. He did not just design clothes, he designed statements. Rohit Bal was not a man who whispered, he roared, with silk, embroidery, and drama stitched into every seam. In a world where conformity ruled the runway, Rohit turned fashion into rebellion. From the regal corridors of New Delhi to the catwalks of Paris, his work was unmistakable, opulent, unapologetic, and impossibly beautiful. He dressed Bollywood's biggest names, but he dressed them on his terms, with vision, flair, and a love for India's rich heritage. But beyond the velvet and glamour stood a truth even bolder than his designs. Rohit Bal was openly gay in a culture that often demanded silence. Born in Kashmir, educated in Delhi, Rohit carved a space for himself in an industry where queerness was often buried beneath surface-level acceptance. But he refused to be invisible. In 2008, he made headlines not for a new collection, but for something more intimate, publicly acknowledging his love for model Lalit Talan. In a country still hesitant to embrace same-sex love, Rohit's declaration was more than personal. It was political, it was defiant, it was love, unfiltered. While many hid behind closets of tradition, Rohit lit his own path with sequins and soul. He was not interested in shrinking. He wanted to expand what was possible for art, for identity, for queerness in India. He criticized Bollywood for its lazy caricatures of gay men, calling out the industry's fear of truth. No star, he once said, has the real courage to play a gay character with dignity. That was Rohit, bold, biting, brilliant. And though he left us in 2024, his legacy walks on, in every stitch of self-expression, in every young queer Indian who dares to live out loud. Just as his final model disappears into the haze of lights, another storyteller steps in. No glitter, no runway, just a script, a camera, and the courage to say what Bollywood never dared. Because next is Onir, the director who told India that queer stories deserve the big screen too. He did not wait for permission. He brought queerness to the big screen before Bollywood even dared to say the word. Onir is not just a filmmaker, he is a disruptor with a director's chair. In a country where queer love was long censored into silence, he made it cinematic. His breakout film, My Brother, Nikhil told the story of a gay man living with HIV, tenderly, truthfully, unapologetically. No stereotypes, no punchlines, just raw humanity. The industry did not know what to do with it. But audiences? They felt seen. And that was enough for Onir to keep going. Born in Bhutan, raised in Kolkata, Onir grew up devouring world cinema, but rarely seeing himself in it. When he came out publicly, it was not with scandal, but with serenity. No drama, just quiet truth. But his work has always spoken louder than headlines. He created characters who loved with longing, hurt with honesty, and existed outside the box office formula. For Onir, storytelling was never about shock. It was about showing life as it is. In a world where queerness was either invisible or villainized, he offered something radical: dignity. He still faces resistance, producers who flinch at his scripts, censors who cut too deep, an industry still afraid of authenticity. But Onir is not here to please. he is here to persist. And in doing so, he has carved a path for queer voices not just behind the scenes, but at the very heart of Indian cinema. And while he frames his truth with cameras, another artist frames his in light, shadow, and photography. Because next we meet Saunak Shah, a creator who captures queerness not as a trend, but as a timeless work of art. He does not shoot for likes. He shoots for liberation. Saunak Shah is the eye behind a lens that refuses to look away. In a world flooded with pretty pictures, his photography cuts deeper into identity, culture, and quiet defiance. His portraits of queer men, often wrapped in tradition yet unapologetically modern, do not just ask to be seen, they ask to be understood. Whether it is a sari draped over a bare chest or a bindi worn with beard stubble, every frame says the same thing. Beauty and queerness are not opposites, they are intertwined. Raised in a Gujarati household in the United States, Saunak grew up between two cultures, neither of which felt built for someone like him, so he built his own space. Through his project Elska and collaborations with Indian queer artists, Saunak has created visual love letters to queer existence. His work is sensual but never exploitative. It does not scream, it whispers, it invites. It lets queerness exist without performance. And that is where its power lies. He shows queer men not as fantasies or symbols, but as people, soft, strong, vulnerable, and real. Saunak once said, "I take pictures of people the way I wish the world would see them." And maybe that is his gift, not just his talent, but his tenderness. In every photo, he tells the viewer, this is how you deserve to be seen. And in a world where LGBTQ+ Indians are still asked to prove their worth, that is no small revolution. But not all revolutions come in quiet tones. Because next is Taha Arshad, a content creator whose message is loud, proud, and impossible to ignore. He is not here to play it safe. He is here to shake the algorithm, and maybe your idea of what it means to be proudly queer. Taha Arshad is the kind of creator who turns confession into content and turns hearts with every post. With a phone in one hand and authenticity in the other, he built a platform rooted in humor, vulnerability, and fierce visibility. His videos are messy, real, and deeply magnetic. One moment, he is making you laugh with a parody. The next, he is unpacking his journey as a queer South Asian man, unfiltered and brave. Born in India, raised between cultures, Taha always felt like he was too much for the spaces he moved through. Too loud, too flamboyant, too honest. But he turned that too much into magic. His content reaches millions, not just because it is entertaining, but because it is raw. He speaks about mental health, body image, and heartbreak like he is talking to a close friend. And somehow, he always knows the right thing to say when you need it most. In a sea of polished influencers, Taha's superpower is imperfection, and his refusal to be anything but himself. What makes Taha stand out is not just his style or his sass, it is his sincerity. He is not trying to be a role model. He is trying to survive and bring others along with him. And in doing so, he has become something bigger than a creator. He has become a voice, a mirror, a movement. And as our journey through 10 bold, beautiful, and blazing queer Indian men comes to a close, one thing is clear. This is not just a list. It is a revolution, and it is only just beginning. Think you've seen it all? Think again. These 10 men did more than break stereotypes. They lit the path for a new generation. From fashion to film, reels to runways, their truth is bold, loud, and beautiful. And this is just the beginning. Subscribe to LGBTQ+ Vibes for more stories that spark pride and power. We are here, we are seen, and we are not done yet.